Hello everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I am going to be starting a week-long series of videos and projects, and these are very special. The reason they're so special is because all week long I plan to do a different project every day using the same stamp set. Well, in my case it's actually 3 stamp sets. And what we're doing over at gettingcricky.com is several of the design team members have chosen different stamp sets to work with, and each day we'll each be posting a project with those particular stamp sets, and we all are going to use the same ones all week long. So I'll be using these same 3 stamp sets for all of the projects this week, and we're doing that so that you can see just how versatile these stamps are. Now, the stamp set that I'm going to be using is Coffee and Tea for You and Me. Now, it feels kind of like I'm cheating a little bit because I actually have 3 different sets of stamps here. This one is the Coffee and Tea for You and Me. This is the original set that Crystal designed, and it's mostly phrases. And if you just had this one stamp set, there's so much you can do. It's got phrases like beans and our friendship is, and you can mix and match them. Miss you a latte, cup of joe. The fonts are a little bit different so that you can add interest to your cards, but they all match beautifully. And so that is the main and the original set. Now, with Crystal's last stamp release, she released these 2 sets to go along with the Coffee and Tea. This one is Coffee and Tea Treats Tag Along. It has a few more phrases, and then it's got some a piece of chocolate cake, and there's a piece of candy, and so that is the tag along set. And now this set's very inexpensive, so check it out. I mean, if you wanted to add just one little thing to this set, these 2 go together beautifully, and it gives you more versatility and a couple of little images. And then if you really want to go on over the top, this is such a neat set. You've got coffee beans, you've got tea bags, you've got a donut sucker, you've got your tea pot, you've got like a takeout cup of coffee, which I love. You've got this espresso or this French press maker, I guess is what that's called, and a hot chocolate pot, and then you've got 3 or 4 different cups on here. So between the 3 of these, I plan to bring you several projects this week. Doesn't that sound like fun? So let's get started on today's project, and I decided for today I'm starting with the chocolate. Now, today I'm actually making a card. I don't always plan on making cards this week. I want to show you some different fun things you can do. And I'm actually using, I'm not using the original set. I'm actually using the add-on sets for today's project. The first, I'm using this phrase, everything is better with, and chocolate from the tag-along set. And then I'm using this coffee cup from the additional set there. So let's get started on the project. Now, because I'm doing a hot chocolate card, I decided to take my inspiration from Ghirardelli Square. If you've never been to Ghirardelli Square and you have a chance to go to San Francisco, I love going to Ghirardelli Square. And the Ghirardelli is, their main color theme seems to me anyway to be brown and blue. So I have chosen a piece of brown paper that I just had in my stash, and I'm actually making a different size card than what I normally make. And there's a reason why that I'll show you in a minute. So this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and what I did is I cut it at 5.5 inches wide, and I'm just going to fold it right down the middle. Now, if this is really heavy cardstock, so perhaps it would have been a good idea for me to go ahead and score it. I'm not going to, just for sake of time right now, but that gives me a 5.5 inch square card. And probably this would be one I would either have to hand deliver. I could hand make an envelope for it if I chose, but I'll probably either hand deliver this card, or it's one that I'll send in a padded envelope because of what I'm doing to it. I'm not embellishing it a lot, I'm just adding some fun things to it. So then I have these papers. They're left over from another project that I had from Cloud9. And what I did is I have two pieces here, and you'll notice they're just a little bit different in size. This one is for the inside of my card, and I cut that at about 5 1/4 inches. It's going to take up a good portion of my card. And then this one I cut just smaller than that. I cut it, actually I believe this is the wrong, no, this is right. I'm sorry, I thought I cut the wrong one here. I'm going to just put this, so this one is probably more like 5 1/8 inches square, so that I have a little bit of a larger margin going around the edge. And then I took this little piece and I cut it, actually this piece is cut at 4 3/4, or yeah, 4 3/4. When all else fails, get out the tape or get out the ruler and measure it, because I can't remember how I cut it now. Let's see, this piece is cut at 4 3/4 square, and this one is cut at 4 3/4. Originally I cut it at 4 3/4 by 2 3/4. And this is just the reverse side of this, and I like this design. But then I went back and I cut off another 1/4 inch. So this one is actually just a little bit smaller because I wanted that blue margin to come through. So let's get started on this card. This time we're going to start with the outside of the card, and I wanted, as I mentioned, I just wanted a little bit of this to show through, and I'm going to completely adhere that down. This is actually going to be a very, very simple card, but I'm hoping that it will be, not only will it be simple, but I'm thinking that with the colors and the paper that I've chosen, that it'll just have that nice little pop, that little, just, it'll say simple, but it'll say somebody's caring about me, and I really think it'll be pretty. So this is the first part we're going to do. Now for the I'm going to do my sentiment first, and it's not very big, and I'm just putting it up here in the corner, and this says everything is better with, and then you finish the phrase on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I have found my gathered twigs from my seasonal distress inks from Tim Holtz, and I decided that was the color I wanted to use. It just reminded me of chocolate, and that was why I chose that color. And so I'm going to just put that kind of near the top here and stamp that down. And you don't see it really well, but it just is kind of this subtle message there. And then what I want to do is I want to grab my distress tool, and I just want to ink around the edges just lightly. Just, you know, sometimes you can't even, if you don't know it's there, you can't tell that it's there, but just that little visual emphasis it adds, I just really like. And so now if you had something even a little bit darker brown, it would be better. This was just the darkest brown ink I had. Now I am going to close that because we'll come back to that in a little bit. And let me wipe off my stamp here because they clean beautifully, but I don't want it to sit too long. So now I have two different ribbons here, and I've kind of gone back and forth. So I thought, well, I'm going to wait till it's stamped and then maybe I'll decide. So that's this is from 3 Girl Jam, and that is, this one is actually called Hot Chocolate, which I thought was funny. Actually, I think I'm going to go with the Antique White, and even though it's not the main, I don't really have a lot of this color, I think I like it better. I think the chocolate is too close to the same color, plus I like that it kind of adds a little bit of, makes this little flourish on the bottom of the card stand out a little bit more, and I think that's something that I want. Now the decision is, do I want a bow or do I want to not? I think I'm going to go with a bow. This is from, as I mentioned before, this is from 3 Girl Jam, and I can tell you this is already the second project I've done very recently with the same ribbon, and I have a feeling that I am going to run out of this Antique White before too long because It's just such a pretty ribbon, and I really like it. I actually like all of the 3 Girl Jam ribbons that I have. She just does such a nice job, and they're all hand dyed. So let's just kind of play with this bow. Honestly, the ribbon isn't as hard to work with as what I make it seem. I just tend to have interesting times with my bows. And actually, I think I'm not going to go with, I may retie that later. I probably will, but let's get it down to the front of our card before I try to retie it and make everything neat and straight, because once it's attached to the card, it will hold up. I'll be able to tie it a little bit easier. So my card's going to open like that, and we're just going to center that right like so. Okay, now let's get our bow tied. It's like having an extra set of hands once it's down to the card, because it doesn't move as much. There we go. Now, I've mentioned before when I've used this ribbon is really crinkly. I kind of like that, especially for this card. You could, I think, iron it and it wouldn't be any problem. So this says everything is better with, and now comes the fun part, kind of the surprise. I am going to do the inside of the card, and that is this piece that I talked about that was 5 1/8, 5 1/4 inches. Let me just measure that and I can tell you. I ended up cutting it back to about 5 even. I wrote my sizes down, and then I thought, oh, I don't want that size. And I'm just going to place my stamp. Now this is one of the beauties of having acrylic stamps that you can play with, because you can play and say, okay, do I like it that way? Do I like it another way? Before you adhere it to your block. And I think I like it on the bottom, so I'm going to put my chocolate there and my cup right above it. And I have several different stamp blocks, mounting blocks, but I'm going to make sure my wording's straight. Get it as straight as I can. I don't care so much if the coffee cup's straight, but I want the wording to be straight. And then I'll just mount that right on there, and then it's where I want it to go. Again, I'm going to use the gathered twigs, and I'm going to ink up my stamp really well. I really like this stamp press from Fiskars when I'm doing my acrylic stamps. In fact, sometime I think I might get another one just so I don't have to change them out when I'm doing videos. And just get that settled right. Keep moving my paper and just press it down and off. Again, I want to clean off my stamp, and there we have it. Everything's better with chocolate. Now, I know that this is a really big piece, and I could write on it. I'm not going to right now, but I probably will later, of course, when I'm doing my card. But the next thing that I'm going to do is I have my 1-inch circle punch, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of eyeball this, and I'm going to turn it upside down so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to eyeball that so it's about centered, and I want it to be about halfway into my punch, and then I'm going to clip it. So now I have a little hole in the middle. And then, because I want a really nice strong adhesive, instead of using my ATG, I am going to use this red tape that's so strong, and I'm going to adhere just 3 of the sides, because this is where the little surprise comes in. Now, right now at my house, I don't have any special chocolate to put in here, but you could do actually a couple of things with this. If you wanted to, you could change the size of your little pocket a little bit and put in, you know, maybe if you have somebody that has a special candy bar they really like, you could slide in that particular candy bar. In my particular case, especially since you notice I have that little hot chocolate cup there, I am going to add a packet of hot chocolate. Unfortunately, I don't have any gourmet hot chocolate on hand right now, and I may before I give the card away, but for now I just have my good old Swiss Miss hot chocolate that I got from somewhere, and that's why I'm just adhering 3 of the sides. And I'm going to actually, instead of centering it like I normally would, I'm actually going to bring it down close to the bottom of the card and leave more blank at the top of the card so that it's easier to slip in my little hot chocolate and then pull it out. And we have Everything's Better with Chocolate, a little hot chocolate holder. If you wanted to, you could cut it in half and put a card in there, a gift card to maybe you have a place like Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, maybe they have hot chocolate or something like that. So there's my card. Everything is better with chocolate. So come back tomorrow and see what kind of fun project I have planned for you using the same set of stamps. Have a great day and thanks for watching.